Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to it Monday here on Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. We are blessed to be here at Pius X, and we are hunkered down for district action tonight, Pius and Southeast. That'll get going just before 7 here on ESPN Lincoln locally. But, we're hunkered down. Pius and a lot of spring football to talk about. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. And numbers to join today on Hail Varsity at 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. Find us on Twitter at Schmidt_radio, at Herbal Essence for Elijah Herbel, and can email Chris at HailVarsity.com. Plenty of thoughts from Scott Frost. We'll have a one-on-one with Bill Busch, special teams coordinator for the Big Red, and all the coaches available today. So we'll make sure we go through all of them throughout this first week of spring. But a really cool time for Nebraska football to get back at it. Some good basketball news. The Big Red need to move their center of operation apparently to central Pennsylvania. They were incredible last night against Penn State. Some thoughts on Big Red basketball, Husker baseball, a tough weekend, but plenty to talk about there. Coming up, Jay Moore, Blackshirt Husker NFLer, his take on spring football, a thought or two on his level of optimism. Coming up in hour 2, Mr. Blackshirt Charlie McBride, a Monday with Charlie, and then our sit-down with Bill Busch. Bill Busch at 5:25, and then Coach Jeff Smith will preview and react to some Husker basketball news. Of course, Fred being retained. Can't wait to get Coach Smith's take on that from last week. First time we've had a chance to talk with Coach Smith, so he'll chime in on that, and then get his thoughts on just district action. State basketball just around the corner. And we'll have all the coverage for it for you in Lincoln on ESPN and KFOR. So you have the phone numbers. You have a chance to get in. Elijah Herbel is still in search of that winning lottery ticket. Is that correct? Our friends at the Nebraska Lottery, Elijah, you've been scratching quite a bit, and you keep winning. Is that true?
Well, they're putting on trucks and bucks, and they do this every single year. And, I mean, who doesn't want a brand-new truck? I think this year it's a 2022 Ford F-150, I think, and that just sounds awesome. So I went and grabbed a couple. This would have been after work on Friday of last week. One-on-one, what I won was another $2 scratcher. So I got another Trucks and Bucks ticket today, scratched it off about 45 minutes ago. What did I win? Another $2 scratch ticket. So I'm just doubling down here. I keep on getting more and more chances to win some trucks. It's been the highlight of my day so far, is winning another Trucks and Bucks ticket.
Well, good, and you get that pickup, and bang, the station vehicle problem is solved. So, I'm kidding. I'm not asking you to donate.
Will you increase my salary at all if I were to put a big ESPN Lincoln logo on the side?
See, that isn't a question for me, my friend. Yes is the answer if it were up to me. But I'm staring at the countdown to kickoff, 39 days for spring football. But the line of the spring, Elijah, let the folks hear it from Scott Frost here when it comes to special teams, because that is one giant area of emphasis. And I love it when farm terms come out. Here is Coach Frost from earlier today.
You know, I don't want to kick a turd here, but I'm sorry, the farm terms come out sometimes. We got to punt it well, kick it well, and have some guys that are dangerous in the return game. And for the most part, I thought our coverage units did a good job last year. There's still improvement to be made. I think we got some guys that are going to be able to catch the ball and do something with it, and we got to punt it well and make our kicks, and we hopefully added some guys that are going to be able to do that and are bringing some guys back.
So there you go. Don't want to kick a turd, especially with those new Adidas. And, it's real simple with special teams. Is it going to be an ongoing issue continually? No, I don't think so, because Bill Busch is going to make it right. The rest of the players are going to make it right. They've emphasized doing so. They've got spring to work on it, and him being able to be more hands-on will be big time, but they're going to make it a bit of a badge and honor versus an afterthought with special teams in Nebraska. So, Elijah, go ahead and move columns from negative to at least neutral right now. Not quite positive, but special teams are going to potentially cost you 3 to 7 to 10 points a ball game, depending on how bad you are at them or just how ineffective you can be with them. It's one drive. It's a first down. It's an extra first down with starting field position. It's better field position to start a drive if you get a return set up, or guess what, you make the field goal, or guess what, your offense is even better in the red zone, so you're not kicking and missing field goals. So we'll have plenty more from Bill Busch here in about an hour or so, but I thought that was pretty comical. A lot covered by Frost. He's been working with some of the number twos at quarterback. Didn't get into specifics. It was just day one. The running back room, really interesting from Coach Applewhite. We'll hear some of his thoughts on things. Really sounds like a smart guy and an in-tune teacher to get the most out of that running back room. And I'm interested, too, to talk defensive line with Coach McBride. Just what can they get accomplished? Offensive line, we spent time on it before. We'll spend time on it again. And that's the biggest question mark for me because of the missing puzzle pieces. So we don't clearly know what type of picture we're going to get. Some time with Donnie Raiola today, and he's optimistic. But, Elijah, a couple of things. One, it's about mentality, and it sounds like Nebraska wants to be more physical, too. If you listen to Nick Henrich, more downhill running, that was not anything out of the ordinary, if you ask Coach Frost. But as an inside linebacker, Henrich noticed it, just how the offensive line day one was coming off the football. Granted, it's not pads. It isn't the second to last scrimmage before the spring game, but it was noticeable by one of your team leaders, it sounds like, on the defensive side, just where Nebraska wants to go. But the staff's revamped. There's more energy. You've got the quarterback race, and, of course, special teams. The biggest thing you're going to be able to see from Nebraska football in just shy of 40 days with the spring game is you're just going to see probably a greater group of athletes thanks to the portal, be it at quarterback, be it in the recruiting world. When we look at Anthony Grant, the New Mexico Military Institute, JUCO, or just from the return standpoint, you've got guys, you have options, and you have guys trying to prove that it's time for them now, Alante Brown, to make a move. And he's one guy, Elijah, that was mentioned today. Again, grain of salt, day one, but it sounded and looked pretty good. I was pretty fascinated by the roundtable and just the upbeat mentality Nebraska had. That's okay to be upbeat, but it just was different, and difference okay, because I think with the staff changes, nothing to disrespect the former coaches with, but it sounds pretty evident with the players that a new voice is going to be welcomed and listened to initially, at least early on.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing I took away from, at least when Frost was up in front of the press today, was he just seemed so cool, calm, and relaxed up there. It seemed like and I get that there's less pressure during spring practice on the coaching staff, but he was cracking jokes and smiling, and he just seemed like he was more comfortable talking to the media than he had been in years past, especially during this past football season. He seemed more forthcoming, and that was my main takeaways. Like, I don't think you can read too far into what coaches are saying at these things, like when they're bringing up players and whatnot. Like, there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. Like, is he bringing up Alante Brown because Alante Brown really wowed him today, or does he bring up Alante Brown because he liked the work Alante put in the past 3 weeks, and this was a nice little pat on the back for Alante saying, we like what you did in winter conditioning, so I'm going to bring you up first day of press conferences. There's a lot that can be read in between the lines, so I don't like to listen too intently, speculate on whatnot, but I like to get a gauge of body language, and that was the number one thing I took away from Frost, was his body language was different today than I had seen in previous years in previous press conferences.
Elijah Herbel there, Chris Schmidt, Hail Varsity. We're at Pius right now. Some big storylines to watch here. That Whipple offense, and Coach Whipple was part of the roundtable today, and Casey Thompson took the first snap because, well, so far so good through what they were doing in winter conditioning. You've got to really go to work with the tight ends because your mainstay Vokalek is not available, and the offensive line, from a stylistic standpoint, it's going to change under Donnie Raiola from Greg Austin. New playbook, new terminology, new language, and you have plenty of time between now and Northwestern quarterback battle. Obviously, the new coaches, though, their impact on practice, one of those is Coach Applewhite, the running backs coach. A lot of praise towards him as we've ramped up towards spring session, spring season, from the Joe Glenn's of the world and some former players from Applewhite. But here was Coach Applewhite and his impression so far with the running backs, that running back room here as they got underway with spring practice 2022.
First impression was that, these kids, they work hard, hungry, eager to learn, eager to please, which is what you want on the first day. I wasn't, I was pleased with the effort. There's some little things you got to clean up, just a different way of how Coach Whipple wants things done in practice, just a totally different mindset. And, they're still getting used to that. But as far as effort, it was great. I was happy with that.
So the effort is good. Specifics here, what type of back do you have? What's the future look like for Jock Yant? And can there be more in his future that's reminiscent to the wow against Northwestern, right? Or is Yant still a guy that's going to struggle with execution in the playbook? And you've seen Yant advertised a few times on some of the Nebraska videos. That's all well and good, but now it's time to learn, get down, be trustworthy, and be a difference in the eye-back. Applewhite here on Jock Yant and how things are going very early in spring football.
He's a big person. He's huge. He's big. And he's fun to be around. Ever since I've been here, he's been a great kid to be around. They all have been great to be around. Just their eagerness to learn, their eagerness to want to get better, to find out how to do this, how to do that. How do I operate? How is this offense going to change? But Jock, he's a great kid. I've been very pleased and happy with all of them. Just, it's fun to be around. Fun group, all of them.
So far, so good. Let's talk traits from Coach Applewhite here as we wind down this first segment. We're on the road here live at Pius ahead of district basketball. The Pius, the 10 Thunderbolts, Lincoln Southeast to get districts tipped up and going. Final thought here from Applewhite on those traits he's looking for in the running back room.
I want a tough kid first. You can't, I don't care how much this game has changed. Tough still wins. I look for athletic kids, multiple sport kids. It's hard for me to recruit a running back that does not run track. If he doesn't run track, he better be special in another sport, basketball, baseball, something where he's really, really special, where I can see other athletic abilities. So toughness, multi-sport athletes, kids that run track, and then I want a smart kid, one that is passionate about football and loves football. At the end of the day, you've got to love what you're doing because this isn't an easy sport. No, who in this table wants to get up at 4 o'clock, eat breakfast at 6, go put on pads, be on the field by 8 o'clock, practice for 2.5 hours, take a shower, then go to class? So you got to love what you're doing. You got to love it.
Well, he is working on finding some guys he loves to carry that football. The rotation is give me 3, give me 4, but I've got to be able as a recruiter and a developer to have somebody that can absolutely step in as that next man up if you're injured or there's a change of pace back I need to go with. So we'll hear more from Coach Applewhite. So thoughts with Nebraska baseball coming up here in about 25 minutes. So a tough go of it for Nebraska baseball. They fell yesterday 5-3. A tough way to end it with Nebraska as the tying runs were on in just a flat-out awful call at first base against Nebraska baseball. Husker basketball now 2 wins in Big Ten play. Who was that team wearing red? We'll get into that. And Jay Moore will talk some more spring ball with us. Great to be with you on a Monday. It's Hail Varsity. We're presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Hello, listener. Hey, it's Chris Schmidt with Hail Varsity Radio, and I wanted to let you know about a special deal just for listeners of the Hail Varsity Radio Show podcast. We're offering $10 off the annual subscription price of $29.99. That means that you, for less than $20, can get everything we do. 10 issues of our monthly magazine, our annual football yearbook, and all the premium content we produce at HailVarsity.com. Just go to HailVarsity.com/subscribe and enter in the promo code GBR for $10 off a full year of Hail Varsity. That's HailVarsity.com/subscribe, promo code GBR.
All-State, 2-year starter, and rush in for the Big Red and NFL vet.
Is Dudeness or Duder or, El Duderino if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
It's Blackshirt Jay Moore with Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into it, Hail Varsity Radio Roadshow ahead of district action. We're here at Pius X. The gym is a little bit lonely except for a few layup warm-ups going on. We welcome in Blackshirt Husker NFLer Jay Moore, co-host Big Red Wrap-Up. Jay, this time of year is pretty awesome, man. Spring football, districts, and then state basketball, and, of course, golf. How many trank darts did you absorb to keep you off of the course today?
Not too many. It's kind of I don't know if it's kind of a sad deal, but I mean, without the moisture, a lot of these golf courses have decided to shut down here for the time being until they can, it's warm enough to get some water on the course from sprinklers or get some moisture for some rain or, even some possible snow. So a lot of the golf courses aren't open, and it kind of gives a blessing in disguise a little bit. I need to, suck it up here and keep my butt in the office to get some stuff done here this week. So, but no, it's beautiful. I might have to take advantage of it one way or another, just to maybe sneak out and find a course that is open for a quick 9 walk-in or something like that. I could use it as an exercise. It's a good exercise. So I'm doing my body good. So I got to find some excuses somewhere, I guess.
The correct answer is I took more shots than Tupac, and I'm still doing this interview. But that's okay. That's okay. Jay, we'll start with some spring football, bud, and we look at Nebraska here, and it's different, man. It's new with some of the position changes, and had a chance later on. We'll hear from Bill Busch. Sat down with Coach Busch, and he's obviously super detailed, super on point. I was pretty wowed by just his outlook on football, and he's been super successful. But, of the positions that are kind of up for grabs and just the different position groups, is there one you're going to buy stock in? It's kind of a running question I've had. Are you Are you feeling that, okay, the D-line can make a jump? Or are you feeling all right about the secondary? Or is it the O-line? Or is it maybe the special teams unit? What unit do you think maybe gets the most done this spring here to help Nebraska in the future?
Oh, man. That's a tough question. That's hard. There's so, I'm kind of, it's stuck between a rock and a hard place. I feel as if you with these coaching changes, I do know that hopefully that, infuses some different ideas, some more accountability within the coaching staff and to some respects. So it's just, I don't know what, if I am bullish, I'd almost be like, I would, I'm more bearish on some of it. I still feel like with this team right now, and I just still look at the head man. He has some holes, right? And I just don't know. Can some of these coaches they bring in, can they help, cover up some of his holes he has in the way he coaches? And I think so. Can Don Raiola, help him get his run game organized? Can Mickey Joseph, help him and can Mickey Joseph and the new OC, I can't remember his name, Whipple. Can he help him kind of get his passing game? Right? I guess what I'm saying, can these guys that have a newer, different voice get them more focused on what it is to get back to winning football? I'm not doubting Frost's, ability to understand the offense. I just think he needs to focus, tighten down his focus and figure out what the hell he needs to get done. I think the culture's better. I think a lot of things are better, but still shows me he's a little bit unorganized on some things and needs to narrow his focus down a little bit. So can they help him there? So, I look at, if I really did have to pick a position group, I honestly might say, and this is totally against all the things I have said on this radio show, is I'm always preaching D-line, O-line play, right? Because that's what wins football games. But there was a position group I may have to buy stock in. It might be the wide receiver, just because of Mickey Joseph and Xavier Betts, Omar Manning, and those guys, and some of the other guys they have coming in. And maybe some of the special teams. I don't know. That's tough. I do respect Bill Busch. I think he's a hell of a coach, but I don't know what the kicking game looks like, who they have coming in. So I'm not too privy on all of that. But it's hard for me to say, hey, I'm really, bullish or have a really positive outlook on some position groups right now. I'm just calling it like it is. I'm not trying to be a pessimist or be negative. I just don't know. We've lost a lot of key contributors, in the secondary and the D-line and the reshuffling of the O-line. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. So, if I had a pick right now, I'd probably say wide receiver. But again, that's hard to say because, if you don't have have the O-line playing well together, protecting the quarterback, then how the wide receiver is supposed to produce, right? So, I wish I could stand up here and say I believe the O-line is going to be, much improved. But I don't know that. I can't honestly say that. I don't know what, they're trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish, with Donovan and getting this thing resurrected. But it's tough. It's a hard question for me to answer. I wish I had a better answer for you.
Hey, Jay, no worries, man. You're just you're kind of in show me mode, and totally get that. As after a few years of kind of building up the hope, and then it fallen down in some key moments. Jay Moore is with us on Hail Varsity Radio talking spring football. How big a task is it for Donnie Raiola? He didn't going to have a tackle. He didn't going to have a starting tackle. He'll have guys that have started before, but they lost their jobs, so you have no Big Ted. And of course, Turner has played his best football at right tackle, but he's also out. So is this a good thing or a bad thing when it comes to mixing and matching? And it's more time and development for some other bodies, but you're still not going to have possibly the 5 guys or 6 guys you want to roll with here come summer or fall.
Yeah, you'll have to work with what you got for the spring, and luckily it is the spring, and it does. You already mentioned it. It helps with getting some of these other guys. You're able to develop some more depth, and just get some guys. Throw them in there against some of the better talent and see what they're made of. That's the nice thing about spring ball is you can go good on good. Every day. You don't have to worry about incorporating certain game plans and going against scout teams. You can go, hey, you want to scrimmage? Good. Let's go ones-on-ones, for 25 plays, 30 plays, whatever it may be. Heck, 10 plays. You can do that every day if you want when you're in pads. So that is a nice thing. You can kind of see how guys have progressed, over the winter conditioning and see and their maturity and everything like that. So that is a good thing, but he has some weapons. He has some guys that play really good football, but he's not going to get his full his whole line back, in not until fall, in fall camp, and that's fine, and it's nice that Teddy was able to play a little bit last year, so he has gotten his feet wet. You already know what Turner's able to do, at his spot, and depending whether they're shuffling him around, but I think you're just trying to find your 5 best guys, and obviously 2 of them are not participating in spring ball. But okay, let's find out who are our other 3. Let's develop another 5 or 6 guys behind those to help out, because you're going to have to plug and play throughout the season. You're going to have to adapt and you're going to have to adjust. Injuries happen, whatever it is. So you got to just develop it and you find your best guys. And do your best you can with what you got.
Jay, just to shift gears just a little bit, we heard from Coach Bill Busch today, and he discussed an interesting story, and that was that a quarterback was actually out doing some kickoff coverage today. That's Matt Masker. I just want to get your take. What do you think of a quarterback going out and doing special teams? And if you were his teammate, what would that signify to you seeing one of your quarterbacks out there running down on kickoff coverage?
Well, if not too surprised. I mean, maybe slightly surprised, but it shows me that this kid wants to play, and he's not pouting and taking his ball and going home like we see a lot of these kids try to do nowadays. And he's just saying, hey, I want to play here at Nebraska, and if it's not going to be quarterback, because it doesn't look too good for him, right? With the young guys they brought in, they recruited in the QB transfer. So he's like, man, I just want to play. And that's totally fine. That's good. I love that type of energy and just what I'm gonna do whatever I can to get on the field. So I really you can't appreciate that, and just especially nowadays where maybe he might transfer to a 1AA or an FB or an FCS type school to try to play. But if he really wants to play at Nebraska, and he kind of sees the writing on the wall, it's like, man, I don't think I'm gonna be able to crack the 3 deep this year. Then if I really want to play while I'm here, screw it. Let's go run down on kickoff team. Let's go run down on punt. Let's go get crazy. And I really appreciate that.
Jay Moore's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. We're on the road at Pius here as we're ready for district action tonight against Southeast. So thanks to them for letting us come out here and hang for Hail Varsity Radio before tip-off. Jay, final thought as we wrap up here. NFL Combine, you're going to have a lot of Huskers performing here in the Combine. What's that do for the Nebraska brand, in your opinion, here, having guys on that stage again? It's not that it hasn't happened, but it hasn't happened as often.
It's nice to get some guys in there. I just wish, it was a direct correlation that if you have more guys, going to Combine, then a lot of times it is more of a correlation that you probably are winning some football games and are pretty successful. That that can't be said for Nebraska here. Only winning 3 games this past year, so that's tough. But it's nice. The Combine it's nice to get invited to. I would say it's a luxury by any means. They put you through the gamut of stuff, but it's nice to kind of get respected that that you're going to get invited there and you get to partake in everything. But it's just. The cool thing about it is you go to the Combine, you perform, you do all the meetings with the teams and the coaches, and all this stuff. So you kind of get a lot of these things knocked out, right, early. And then when you come to your pro day, it's like, all right, if I did perform well at my pro day, guess what? I'm just going to do some position drills, and then I might, obviously talk with some scouts and stuff and whatnot when they're there. But if you didn't do as well, like, hey, I didn't run my 40 as fast. Guess what? You got to redo. You can run it again if you want.
Jay Moore's with us. Jay, have a good week, bud. We'll do this again soon, and thanks for checking in on spring football with us.
Yep, you got it. Have a good week, boys.
Hello, listener. This is Brandon Vogel, managing editor of Hail Varsity, and I wanted to let you know about a special deal just for listeners of the Hail Varsity Radio Show podcast. We're offering $10 off the annual subscription price of $29.99. That means that you, for less than $20, can get everything we produce. 10 issues of our monthly magazine, our annual football yearbook, and all of the premium content we produce at hailvarsity.com. Just go to hailvarsity.com/subscribe and enter the promo code GBR for $10 off a full year of Hail Varsity. That's hailvarsity.com/subscribe, promo code GBR.
Chime in 402-466-ESPN or email the show, Chris@HailVarsity.com.
Just try me.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Great to have you back. It's Hail Varsity Radio, a Monday road show here at Pius X as we are getting set for district action tonight. Pius at Lincoln Southeast boys just before 7. Myself, Jeff Smith. We'll have the call for that here on ESPN Lincoln locally. And, of course, our affiliates will have great coverage of high school sports with their area teams as well. Elijah Herbel back in the ESPN studios. Bill Busch coming up one-on-one with Bill. We'll check in with Coach Busch here a little bit after 5:20. A Monday with Charlie, Mr. Blackshirt. Good Coach McBride's thoughts here as spring is starting off the right way. So far, so good with a full day Husker football coverage. Numbers to get in, 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. Can email Chris@HailVarsity.com and find us on Twitter at Schmidt_radio, Chris Schmidt, and at Herbal Essence for Elijah Herbel. So the reality is this: Nebraska baseball is off to a uber tough start following yesterday 5-3. You had Bryce Matthews get rolling a little bit, took a tough strike 3 call yesterday in the latter innings. I think that was the 9th. He had 2 on, no out as Nebraska made some noise to try and tie things up. Elijah, what is rule number 1 for you when you're not behind home plate, but your job is to get the call right at first base? That clearly did not happen with Nebraska baseball yesterday. Don't know if they would have won, but I know it was 2 outs and the tying run was on to get home, and it was. Listen, I don't know the umpires. I can't do it. I'm not. I've never really umpired in about 25 years, so I'm not throwing rocks here intentionally, but it was a horrific call missed against Nebraska baseball. It could have done wonders to get out of TCU alive with at least 1 win. Don't know if they would have or not, but it's better than the alternative, 0-3. And it was a brutal call that was missed with Nebraska as the runner beat the plate at first in super slow-mo. There's evidence on Twitter, my friend.
Oh, yeah, and he was safe. Like, you go back and rewatch it, it's easier to see it in slow motion than it is live.
Don Dinkinger thought he was safe.
I mean, I feel for the umpire in that sense because, like, what the angle that we're seeing, the one that's up the first baseline a little bit, it's in slow motion. It's much easier to see slow than it is live. But as a college umpire, you expect to get it right. I mean, if you're umpiring 10-year-old baseball, if it's close, it's an out. Like, I get that. But once you get to the college level, you got to get those sorts of things right. I can't put myself in the umpire's shoes, so I can't, get a read on why he called it the way he did. But it seemed pretty clearly safe. But then you also look at it, 9th inning, 3rd game of the weekend. maybe the guy had plans back in his hometown on Sunday night. Maybe he just wanted to get out of there. Like, I can't. He was meeting his buddies at the bar for a beer after the game, probably.
You know what? The beer's still going to be there. Get it right is my thing, but we'll see how Nebraska baseball bounces back. Husker basketball.
Wow.
What was that? Who was that? Man, Nebraska baseball on basketball, on fire last night. A capital E efficient 13 for 20 from 3. Phenomenal when it comes to offensive rebounding. I think 12 for the game. 5 guys in double figures. And you had Elijah, I saw like a spurt where they just played hot potato, like 3 or 4 possessions in a row in the second half where there's a little lost focus. So what? It's going to happen. That usually is a death nail for someone to put a run together on Nebraska. Nebraska was drilling Penn State so badly it didn't matter. Instead of winning by 32, you won by 23. Oh, well. But I saw one bad shot, Kobe Webster, the entire game. There was a couple of questionable shots, but they went in. So, therefore, they are good shots. One bad shot is all I really saw watching that thing. And Nebraska's good for one of these a year. Last year they annihilated Rutgers. And maybe they'll get some momentum and go play hard against Ohio State tomorrow night. You finish up with Wisconsin. And then here comes Indy, right? Here comes the Big Ten tournament. But pretty cool moment in the postgame with Fred Hoiberg in the locker room reinforcing, look, if you do the right things, good things can happen. Sharing the ball, the extra pass. That's what it's supposed to look like, Elijah. That's what it's supposed to have looked like for 3 years. And good for Fred having it actually happen.
Yeah, I had that pulled up, what Fred said in the post-game locker room, if you'd like to hear that.
Yeah, let's hear from Fred Hoiberg telling his guys congratulations, a second consecutive road win at Penn State.
Why not us? All right, you see what we're capable of, fellas. We go out and play together and play the right way out there for 40 minutes. That's the most complete, consistent 40-minute game on both ends of the floor we played, and everybody made a contribution. All right, great job, fellas.
Put your hands together. Good work. Good work, and carry it over. And it just took a while. Now 2-31. Check that, 2-30 on the road all time. Both wins against, say it with me, Penn State. But it's better than the alternative, and the alternative's been happening way too often this season. So baseball trying to regroup and get their mojo going. Basketball gets a win that's really nice. So wonderful.
And another just point for the weekend.
Are we going bowling?
I was going to go. Well, we could have gone bowling. I do like bowling. I was going to go Husker women's basketball, finishing the year 16-1 at home. Was that? Do I have my number correct there?
Yeah,
16-1
I think their only loss was to Michigan State.
Pretty incredible that they're able to. I mean, when you look at going to football games, going to basketball games, men's basketball games, I should say. Just feels like so many losses at home over the past couple years. The Husker women's basketball team did a great job holding down the home floor this season. So got to give props where props is due. 16-1 at home is incredible, especially with some of those highly rated teams that came into Pinnacle Bank Arena this season.
No, Nebraska was fantastic with Coach Williams, and they're loading up, man. They are ready to make a run in the tournament. We'll check in this week with Andy Markowski on Wednesday, all things Nebraska basketball, as the Pius girls, of course, are getting ready to make another push towards state. Really good teams in Lincoln with girls basketball, and a number of state candidates. Southwest incredible with Coach Berta. Lincoln High's phenomenal with Coach Dominique. She does just an insanely high-level job. So, got to be a fun time with hoops here a week from today with state coverage. We'll wind down this first hour. A couple more thoughts from Scott Frost, and then we'll check in with Mr. Blackshirt. Charlie McBride going to be with us And then Bill Busch, 5:25, our sit-down with the Bushman. Hail Varsity on the road. We're here at Pius. We're presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time this first hour, Hail Varsity Radio Roadshow Monday here at Pius the 10th, ahead of district action, Pius boys in Southeast, as we'll be on a little before 7, gearing up. Real quick thought here from your friends at the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. Coaches make substitutions during the game to get the best player on the field. Getting behind the wheel after drinking also demands a substitution. Sober drivers, the only choice. A DUI cost more than you think. A message from the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. Let's hear from Scott Frost from today's presser. Let's do the wide receiver room. There's some intrigue with that. Of course, Mickey Joseph, his resume speaks for itself. And there's some big-time talent in that room that can maybe hit a ceiling. Here's Coach Frost.
Got a lot of guys in the receiver room, and they're not getting away with much right now with Mickey in there. So they know the expectations and the standards, and they know there's going to be a lot of competition in the room because we got a lot of guys on a lot of depth. Today was day one. They're going to have 15 practices this spring and a bunch of time over summer and fall to try to battle it out to see who the main guys are going to be, and they're off to a good start.
So Alante Brown's name's been mentioned. That's some praise. Good for him. We've been waiting to see him kind of ball out for a while if you're a Nebraska fan. Other thought, too, is Omar Manning playing a lot in the slot per Whipple.
This is interesting.
Because he likes a big target there in the slot. More from Scott Frost here real quick, specifically when it comes to the progress here, that working relationship with the new coaches, how that's ongoing.
I think it's a work in progress. It's been great sitting in a room with smart guys that see the game a little different, had some different ideas. But it's amazing how much you have to go through to make sure that you're on the same page with everything. I mean, the name of every blitz and pressure that you bring, the name of every front and what we call the coverages, what we call concepts, what the signal is for the concepts, how we handle certain things in protection. There's just, to marry things together, it's a lot of work. And we've been putting in a lot of work, but I'm sure there's some stones that are still unturned that we'll get to through spring.
So Nebraska will work out the rest of this week. Again, 15 practices, now 14, one down this morning. They'll ease into their pads here by about day 3. And it's really, quite honestly, a time for development. We'll talk about that aspect of it with Charlie McBride coming up here next segment, Monday with Charlie. Plenty more from Coach Applewhite also next hour. And then what you're going to want to hear from Bill Busch, the topic being, of course, special teams, the recruiting trail, and how he's such a nice get for Nebraska now on field, and just super, super down to the details for Bill Busch. Elijah Herbel back at our ESPN studios, winding down this first hour. And good stuff from Jay Moore as well. Check the podcast out. Subscribe to us. Take us with on your time. Also catch us live, obviously, around the state of Nebraska on Hail Varsity. And can find Hail Varsity on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play. And give us a review. Good, bad, ugly. We'll take all the criticism or praise you want to hand out. But subscribe to it, Hail Varsity Radio. Hour 2 next. Charlie McBride on the way. Pardon the interruption, but I'd like to save you some money. Hey, it's Chris Schmidt with Hail Varsity, and I wanted to offer listeners of this podcast $10 off the price of an annual subscription. That means that you, for less than $20, can get everything we produce. 10 issues of our monthly magazine, our annual football yearbook, and all the premium content we produce at HailVarsity.com. Just go to HailVarsity.com/subscribe and enter in the promo code GBR for $10 off a full year of Hail Varsity. That's HailVarsity.com/ podcast. Subscribe, promo code GBR.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Thanks for hanging out. It's Hour 2. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. We're on the road here at Pius X, just off of 56th and A Street, ahead for the Pius X in Lincoln Southeast as district action gets going here for boys basketball. It's that time of year, nearing March for the madness. It is spring football time, too. Lots to go over, and we've done so with spring 2022 with Coach Frost and his new assistants. We say hi to Mr. Blackshirt, Charlie McBride. A Monday with Charlie. Coach, I got to ask you, are you getting some of the good weather your way finally? We're going to be 60s and I think 70s all week.
Well, at least I can see the sun. It's not that bad, but I think it was close to 50 today. But, I was out a couple of times. But, everything's melting. Thank you. Now the ice is going away. Jesus.
Well, good. Enjoy the 50s. But 50s in your part of Michigan probably, I don't know, it feels a little warmer than 50, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, you live in there. I lived in Arizona, 14 years or so, and it was really funny when you're down there. In the wintertime, it gets to be 40, 45 degrees, sometimes even down to 30s. But all the snowbirds come out, and they're all walking around in shorts all the time, so you know who they are, and you can tell who's the snowbird and who's not, because all the people that live there have big coats on and sweaters and stuff. It's really funny because you go shopping and all these people that are visiting are all in, Bermuda shorts, and it's a laugh is what it is.
Coach, a lot to talk about with spring football, and Coach Frost talked to the media today, all the assistants on offense and defense sat down at the round table, and Bill Busch there too with special teams. And I wanted to ask you, when a couple of coaches that come to my mind came on board with you, how did you approach things defensively? And I ask you about Kevin Steele and Tony Samuel specifically. When they came in to be a part of your defensive staff, how long did it take you guys to get on the same page? And even when it came to transitioning to that new defense, that 4-3 versus the 5-2?
Well, it wasn't. That isn't bad. The thing is the terminology, and anything that they want to put in, have us look at or do that they know about. You spend some time with that, of course, right away. I mean, so that's cleaned up usually by spring practice and everything. So, but those are the things you go through, is the terminology and anything you can add. You usually don't change your defense, but you can do things. You can do a little bit here, a little twerk here and there, and add things to it and take stuff out. So the biggest thing is pick their brains. And, there's two things I always told them. One thing is the more you say, the more you got to take back. So be careful what you're doing when you go out and meet the press. Don't tell them you're going to be the world's greatest team that ever came down the road, whatever you do, because you never know what's going to happen. And I always looked at it as the player's responsibility. You do your part as far as getting them ready to play and teach them, but their heart has to be in the right place. So, spend time with your players, get to know them as best you can before spring ball starts, so you can start there off the field. And that was a good thing that I think we had. This year probably it isn't as much time because they're having a little quicker spring ball, and some of the guys came in maybe a little later than we had. But we usually had them in by the time the bowl game was over.
Charlie McBride's with us, Hail Varsity Radio on Monday with Charlie. Coach, what would you do when it comes to getting together with your kids? Would you have the entire defense over? Would you just have your position group? How would you spend time together? How would you hang out?
Early you start pretty much with your own groups, and you stayed pretty much. We might have had one meeting, with the defense, and Tom had team meetings. Sometimes I think, if I remember, we probably had them just about every time. We had 15 minutes or so, before, but maybe the first day. Of course, we had, kind of an introduction day, and we didn't have practice. We met with them, before. Or I guess we're allowed to do that and have, or the first day we spent more time with them as a team. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we broke into, when we had the team meetings, we broke into our individual groups right after that. And from that point on, we were pretty much stayed as individual groups because we had so much to put in, and of course we had 20 days. We didn't run in. I don't think we ran into the 15 days, and we were gone. I was gone before that, but we had our practices all picked out. What we're putting in this day, and so on and so forth. So we had a schedule of what we're going to do all through the whole spring. And usually, we left time in our meeting time. For a lot of kids, it's easier for them to learn is to do walkthroughs and things like that. So we had some time. We kind of day by day went with that. If we had some kids that really didn't need it, but sometimes the defensive linemen don't really need the whole can of worms. It's the guys that have to adjust are the most important guys you have. But when you're doing it, your linemen are learning the defense. They're learning what's going on behind them. And that's really important if they know, just the fact that they know more than just their position. And, the secondary guys have to know, a lot. They have to know all the adjustments being made, and sometimes they have to make individual calls. So when you do it three-dimensional, it's a lot easier for them to really see it. So we'd stack them up, maybe 2 or 3 guys deep, and just walk through the stuff, and go through it. And so that they could take a look at, what we're talking about. A lot of guys don't understand spacing and things like that. So, that's a good time to do that rather than on a blackboard.
Well, the walkthrough part, it sounds more fun to get your hands dirty with. Charlie McBride's with us, Hail Varsity Radio on Monday with Charlie. Coach, a couple of names I want your thoughts on. As their 2 names we're going to watch and circle. Ty Robinson, of course, out of Arizona, has been in the program a while, started last year, had some good moments, but it sounds like it's time for him to take another step in his career, and I think he's anxious for it. Also, Nat Hutmacher, the polar bear from South Dakota, when he's been in, he's impressed, but it's not been as a full-time guy. What are your thoughts on both of those kids as they enter into spring?
Well, if I don't know where their heads are screwed on, how that goes, but I assume because of the backgrounds that they have, that they have the potential to play in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And how they learn and what they learn right now and are able to just get better at it, I think is really the most important thing. That they work at things, if they, for example, if have hands problems, or all the little things that have to be done, to get the job done. And a lot of times, I used to always talk about their peripheral vision. Well, I like kids to play as tight on the ball as they can. But when you have a gap responsibility, you have a guy on you and a guy to the side you're playing on. Maybe you're on his outside shoulder, say. And you want to know what that tackle or that guard's going to do. If you're playing over the center, you want to know what that guard on the side of your gap responsibility is. And we never played two gap because there's only so many people who can do that. And we had guys like, the kid from South Dakota, he can do it probably. Danny Noonan could do it. Christian Peter could do it. Yeah, and there were some guys that were quicker and could do other things better than they could, as far as quickness and stuff. So, but they couldn't handle two gap, meaning they have both sides. And the biggest thing in the world on both sides is if you run a fullback right at him and you're playing one side and you're supposed to play them both, he's just going to cut the other way and pick up 3 or 4 yards on you anyway. So I never did like to play two gap, although we taught him to play it subconsciously, because we would work across the face. If we saw him cut that way, we'd want to have control of the guy to get across his face. So there's all kinds of things, but those kids are I think their heads are screwed on right. One was a good wrestler, and I've always found that guys with wrestlers had good balance. They weren't off their feet a lot, and I think that both of them have to improve probably with the pass rush. That's the hardest thing to do, and consistency. And, I remember, when the kids, I always told them when the pro guys come in, when they look at you, they're going to look at you when you come off the field. Are you a leader, or are you a guy are you moaning all the time, or are you, what kind of a player are you? And so, and if you take one loaf out on that field and you want to go to the NFL, you got money coming out of your pocket. I'll tell you that right now. So there's a lot of things, I would talk to them about, the guys that are like that, and I get them in an individual situation and talk to them a little bit, that way as the year went on.
Charlie McBride's with us Monday with Charlie, Hale Varsity Radio. Coach, who is the best defensive line pass rusher you had, interior guy that you coached?
Jim Scow.
Okay.
Jim Scow is, he would turn guys around. I mean, he made the offensive lineman turn in circles, and he was something else. And he was, here's a guy that if you looked at him and you were a pro scout coming in and looked at him, you'd say he's a linebacker because he looks like a perfect sized linebacker. I mean, he's just there. But he was so strong. He was really strong. And, in fact, he was drafted, I think, in the 3rd round by the Cincinnati Bengals and played defensive end for him. And, but he was special because he had some real quickness and explosiveness, about him. Some of the other guys, the biggest thing you have to understand is they're going to look and see if you explode to the ball, if you're just kind of loafing around, or you're just you have to be able to get off blocks, and you got to go. I mean, there's no fooling around if you're a defensive lineman. And then how's your motor? If the ball's thrown in the air, are you just observing, or you're going down? Hopefully the guy catches it, or if he fumbles and you can be there. Or if you can block for him if you're down there and if something would happen, come up, especially on intermediate and short passes.
Coach, quick last thought, and thanks for talking spring football with us. Are you optimistic that the D can take a step forward this year? Did you like what you saw last year, and where do you think they can go next year?
Well, we had. I think I've been studying right now. This whole week, I've been studying the statistics and stuff from last year, and you can see some things they got to work on. But I think the biggest thing defensively, there's no question. You have some guys that are back and they're pretty good leaders. And from what I can gather, they're pretty good weight room guys, and that's how you really start out, and that's where you really start to tell you how your team's going to be, because you're working together, you're talking to each other, you're doing, you're making some goals set. And I mean, I heard the other night, this is if I can say it real quick, I heard one of the girls on another school talk about her goals were to win the conference championship and make the Final Four. And I just about jumped out of my chair and said, why in the world would you want to you make the final? If you win your conference, why wouldn't you think about winning the national championship? Who the heck cares about being the fourth team or beat those people? And I thought, make the Final Four. What do? Give up after you make the Final Four or what? And that's the way it goes here. We had a good enough team where we had to win the conference and we had to go to win the national championship if you win the conference, and there wasn't any in-betweens.
Coach, we'll be ready for another week of spring football, and I can't wait to talk to you next Monday. Thanks so much for the time today.
Tell those coaches to take them in a closet and have some live work.
We'll discuss that next. All right, we'll do that next week. The old closet one-on-one work, huh?
Yeah. Okay, have fun. Enjoy yourself this week. Okay, bye now.
Pardon the interruption, but I'd like to save you some money. I'm Brandon Vogel, managing editor of Hail Varsity, and I wanted to offer listeners of this podcast $10 off the price of an annual subscription. That means that you, for less than $20, can get everything we produce. 10 issues of our monthly magazine, our annual football yearbook, and all the premium content we produce at hailvarsity.com. Just go to hailvarsity.com/subscribe and enter the promo code GBR for $10 off a full year of Hail Varsity. That's hailvarsity.com/subscribe, promo code GBR.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
A few minutes here, Hail Varsity Radio, and Bill Busch with his special teams coordinator. Coach, it's been a while. It's nice to sit down with you again. How you doing?
I'm doing great, absolutely. I appreciate you guys being here. There's one thing that's so great about being at Nebraska is to have the people that care and having media that follow you, and it's good to have, it's like I said, you're fortunate to have pressure, and so it's nice to have people that are following you and doing this, and very excited about it.
Coach, I thought here on special teams, and first and foremost, how did day one go?
Yeah. We felt day one went great. It's always, don't get too excited, don't get too high or too low at that, but it's such a simple thing of, the little things are big things. The administration of the drills that we had to have were spot on. And it's because we felt it was very organized, but the kids executed it. They understood the importance of it. Meetings, they took everything in. It transferred right over. I talked about how we transitioned into drills right out of stretch, then mid-practice. Then we had, we were separate with field goal and field goal block, and they transitioned to that right away. So very productive for that. Not a lot of balls were hit as far as being kicks and punts. Today was more of a kick-off day, and so, but it went very, very well.
How was the attention to detail? How were you able to model it and kind of get the buy-in from the kids in that special teams room?
Well, very lucky with, like I said, we have great kids. I mean, really, really, really great kids. You have to be able to show with anything. They can see a fraud. They can see kids are smart. Like, they're on anything in life. Mm-hmm. And so if they see that you care about them, if they see that you're prepared, if they see that they can look to you and know they can ask questions all those things combined will build a long way, builds a long bridge on how you can get things done successfully. Obviously, I know these kids from being around the office last year. Wasn't able to coach, but I was able to see them, so they at least know who I am. So that helps a lot for us. But again, if you have, if it's like anything else, if they know you care and they know that you have a really clear structure and you have a belief system, and also it's fair. Fair is so big for them like that. Like it isn't anything, back in the day when your parents just told you, we can't do it because because I said like that, you have to be better than that. Now we have to be, here's the why. So we talk about the why in everything we do, the why we do the drill, the why it's important to be early in the meetings, the why it's important how we sit in meetings, everything we do. So you have to give them the why, and we give them the why.
Bill Busch with us, a few minutes here, Hail Varsity Radio. Coach, you touched on the why. Let's get into some goals. What's a goal you have? What do you want? What do you want from your return team, punt and kickoff?
Well, I'm not going to throw certain numbers, but the first thing we talk about any return game, we talked about this. We showed a graphic with the picture of it like that after every single punt return or kickoff return, there's only going to be two signals. It's either going to be touchdown Nebraska or first down Nebraska, which means we're either going to score or we're going to possess the ball. That's the number one thing that has to happen. Sounds simple, but we have to have that. The next thing is how many great fielding decisions do we make so we don't give up hidden yardage with the ball hitting the ground and rolling forever, with the ball for us getting pinned too deep when it should have been a situation where we didn't field the ball. All the different scenarios with it for us right there until we get to the phase when now it's live ball. And so you always want to, my goal always on punt return is 10-yard average. First down. You get a first down every time at that. If that's your average for the year, then you're in great shape for us right there. And then the same thing with a kickoff return for us right there. We have to be able to get the ball past the 25-yard line. So we're looking to get the ball to the 30-yard line, because if you fair catch the ball's coming to the 25 as a layup. So you have to be in position to be able to make that better. If you don't make it better, then you've made bad decisions. You're not doing the right thing. If all of a sudden we're going to return every ball and we can take the ball at the 25, so there's sometimes, like I said, it's just like poker on punt return, kickoff return. Sometimes you don't go all in on certain things, but you know what kicks are very returnable balls and what we can do to be able to set that up. But we also have to have a mentality that we are going to return balls, especially on kickoff. Like, no, we're going to block people and return them. Now on punts, we're going to protect our returner and we're going to be able to return balls. Some of them, the kicks are not returnable. So if they're not, be really smart.
Do you like the talent in the room, the kids you're working with to return those kicks and punts?
Yeah, I do. I really do. Obviously, adding Trey Palmer in will help from LSU. I was with Trey at LSU, so I know what he can do as far as a kickoff returner and a punt returner. And we also asked him, I thought that Tommy Hill did a very good job today with the ball in his hands. We were just doing it as individual at the end of the day. And then also I'm very excited about Brody Belt and Oliver Martin. Oliver did a great job fielding balls last year. And then, but Brody should be someone that can make plays for us. You saw how he became offensively in the last part of the season, especially the Wisconsin game. So we need to get the ball in his hands, and he's very, very natural at fielding balls.
Bill Busch with us here on Hail Varsity. Coach, recruiting. You are well respected and pretty well renowned for your ability to recruit through your career. Take me back, and who mentored you in the world of recruiting?
Trying to think if there was one person that mentored me the most. I probably spent some time with Kevin Steele, Tony Samuel, and then obviously George Darlington probably the most for his persistence in recruiting. And George always recruited from a long distance. He was always West Coast recruiter, and so just being around all those guys at a very young age to see how hard it was to work, the extra it took in to try to get a relationship with the player, but then with his mom, dad, his auntie, second cousin, his coach, all those things. So you kind of took it from afar on it. And then, like I said before earlier to the group, you have to spend a lot of time on likability, on trying to be able to create a concept or a relationship with these people that they want to talk to you. Because if they don't want to talk to you, you really can't do much. And so you want to be able to have enough, like, I kind of like that. Hey, if Coach Busch texts, I'll text him back. Hey, I'll call him back. So you try to build that way. So I was around great recruiters here. I've been around my entire life, so you just constantly keep learning. I mean, Coach O, at LSU taught me things that I'm like, okay, I like that. That's something a little different than what I'm used to. But in the end, it's all about building the relationship.
You mentioned Coach O, and he told a story on national radio a week or two ago about trying to land Adrian Peterson. That was the one that got away for him. When it comes to your ability, take me through what jumps out to you. Is it first film, or is it, all right, somebody who knows you saying, look, I got a guy for you, giving you the heads up?
It's all encompassed. I have some guys in my life that if they call me and say I got a guy, they got a guy. And I have some people, they say they've got a guy and they've never had a guy. And so there's always that combination. So it's always a little bit like it. But if someone lets me know, because they're always right. And so I've had some of those people. But it comes down to your film, still your resume. And the film has to show it. It has to back it up. The thing that also is in-person evaluations are so critical. How many times do you see them? Do you see them play live? Do you see them practice? Do they come to camp? All those things there. And I've also had guys come to camp and go, woo, they ran. That's vertical, wow. And then they go to play and it's not the same, and you watch their film and it's not the same. So it's all got to add up together. All those things have to add up to be at one time, but it goes through the process of the worst thing you can do is waste time on great player, love watching him, find out that he's got some off-the-field issue or no grades. There's nothing worse than wasting somebody's time on that. So you always want to make sure I have my little details down before it goes on to the next person to get it evaluated, with those things. But in the end, the film is what matters. Then you have to make the decision academically, any of those areas right there. If he is struggling, why is it? And a lot of times those young men work out very well.
Do you look at the portal as a challenge or a potential advantage?
Well, both. It's both. Yeah, it really is. It can be used as an advantage. It's something that we've used well as an advantage here at Nebraska. It's also a challenge because obviously you're recruiting your own kids just as hard as you recruit anyone else like there, because there is a different window for people out there just to be like, you know what, I'm going to go to the portal. It needs to be that easy. And so that's a little bit. So I think it goes both ways. If you work really hard on how you manage it and how you look at it right there, then I think it's still a positive. But it's very difficult. But in recruiting, just like when I started to what it is now, you have to adapt as fast as you can. You can't be someone like, I don't do Twitter, or I don't like to text, or I don't like to do this. I'd like to recruit as if it's 1988. That doesn't work. And so now, same thing at the portal. You better have an understanding of it. That's just the way it is now. So just being locked in, how to handle it, what's going on with it. And then also, it's not a magic portal. Some people think it's a magic portal. It's like everybody looks into it like that. And, there's some that happens. There's also a lot of failures in the portal. So you have to be very smart and do your due diligence on why they're leaving, what's going on, all those different things of it. It's kind of happened at LSU with Joe Burrow when I was recruiting Joe. That wasn't a portal situation because that hadn't happened yet. He was graduated with that. But I knew Joe. I was at Ohio State with him. I knew his family, and I also knew the reason he was leaving. And so there was a difference there. He wasn't leaving disgruntled. He wasn't leaving, I got screwed. This is kind of what it is. So we had a background. We had so much background on him. So you always want to have that background from the portal.
What was that season like down there? I mean, it was obviously you won a championship. It was incredible. But you want to talk about kind of hitting on all cylinders. You get his talent level matched with the offense, and in that league, it was pretty big wow factor for college football.
Obviously, it was, to be part of it was outstanding. Obviously, me and Mickey were together with it and just had so much fun with it. But the thing that stood out the most was how competitive the entire team was. And defensively, how competitive they were. And I'll speak from the other side of the ball because I was on defense there. But, to see how Jamar Chase and Joe and everyone and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, how those guys practiced, the competition every day, it was good on good. And every one-on-one things. And then we showed it on the next day on practice on who was going, what was going on. And it was on the whole time. No one was tapping out. No, I don't want to take any reps. I'm going to take Tuesday off. That never happened. So it was the perfect storm of talent and competitive spirit at the same time.
Coach Bill Busch. Coach, good to see you again. Thanks for a few minutes.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Appreciate you.
Bill Busch a little bit earlier today on Hail Varsity Radio. Coach, excited to be on field. Obviously, the analyst role last season, but covered it all there just with specialists and return game. And just I love hearing his philosophy and outlook as one of the most successful recruiters in the country for decades with his resume. Super impressive and great to talk with the Bushman. We'll spend some time here. Jeff Smith on the way, and Pius ready for Southeast tonight. Districts here on ESPN Lincoln. Like what you hear? High-quality radio and podcast is part of what we do at Hail Varsity. Hey, it's Chris Schmidt with Hail Varsity Radio, and I wanted to offer listeners of the Hail Varsity Radio Show podcast $10 off the price of an annual subscription. That means that you, for less than $20, can get everything we produce. 10 issues of our monthly magazine, our annual football yearbook, and all the premium content we produce at HailVarsity.com. Just go to HailVarsity.com/subscribe and enter in the promo code GBR for $10 off a full year of Hail Varsity. That's HailVarsity.com/subscribe, promo code GBR.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Thanks for hanging out. We're here at Pius ahead of Southeast and the Pius boys for district action. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Hail Varsity Roadshow Monday. Plenty of hoops underway as it's a great next couple of weeks for basketball. And we'll get some thoughts here from a Hall of Fame coach and a longtime assistant at Nebraska. He'll be on the call a little bit later tonight. Jeff Smith with us at Coach J. Smith 14 on Twitter. Coach, let me ask you this. Did you want to golf today before basketball, or were you able to find a course that lets you play?
I did want to golf, but I didn't make it out. I think some of the public courses are open, so I may try tomorrow morning. But I'm making wooden bunny baskets for Easter for my 1-year-old granddaughter, so that took priority today.
Well, that's all right. I was not wise enough to ever take shop class, and more power to you for making bunny baskets. I may have
I have a father-in-law that's a woodworking genius, so all I do is go over there to his shop.
Good work.
I'm learning.
So I got to get your thoughts here with Coach Hoiberg coming back. And wow, last night. We'll start with Nebraska basketball. They were impressive. They were able to take out a season's worth of frustrations and drill Penn State. But Coach Smith, what are your thoughts on Fred being back and some of Trev's comments? I haven't talked to you since it happened.
Yeah, I'm glad he's coming back. I think Trev's doing a really, really intelligent athletic director move here with Coach Frost and Coach Hoiberg. They're both big names that have been proven winners that, everybody felt like we were lucky to have here. Trev's only been here 7.5 months. I think he's got to coach these guys up a little bit, I guess. And he's been around some and knows the games. And I think that he's going to give them some metrics to go by. I think he's going to make them redesign their staffs, their offense, their defensive thoughts, their, style of play, especially basketball in the Big Ten. I like it. That doesn't guarantee it's going to work, but Trev could come out looking like a genius, or he's going to look like a caring AD that people want to work under. And so I think it could be a win-win.
Jeff Smith with us here on Hail Varsity. Coach, we'll switch to the game last night, and what did you see? I mean, why did it look like it looked last night for Nebraska basketball?
I saw total unselfishness. I saw players that didn't care who scored. I saw some unbelievable ball movement. That really the ball was moving quicker than the Penn State's physical defense could get to them. They frustrated Penn State. They played basketball like you're supposed to. They dove on the floor. They boxed out well. They took away fast break. You actually saw a little bit of that against Iowa. Iowa's just a little more talented and a tougher matchup for us. But they bounced back with their second game against Iowa and didn't give up fast break, didn't turn the ball over as much, took a little time on their possessions and moved the ball better, and then it carried over to Penn State. not quite as talented, but you're playing Penn State at home, who's won some good games. But ball movement, just total team effort. Nobody looking at the stat board, I don't think. And then because of the ball movement, their shots were better. I think they're capable of shooting 50% from three in certain games, but it takes that kind of ball movement and the extra pass, just that unselfish, total team kind of effort and thought for that to happen. And it's just too bad that, we're with a couple games left in the season, we get to see that. I thought the Colorado game was a little bit like that exhibition. There was a couple other parts of games were like that. It is a little frustrating for us fans to see that now and think, wow, that's what it should look like.
Coach, a lot of district action going on here. Going to start with Southwest and Omaha South. A quick thought on that matchup tonight. They'll tip off down at the Nest.
Yeah, I think if Southwest can get by Omaha South, they can win that district and beat a Gretna, but they've got to get by Omaha South first. You and I saw Omaha South upset Pius early in the year, and Omaha South has extreme quickness and are well coached by the Chubbucks, and they can press, they can guard, they can penetrate on anybody. Southwest has some length on them. I think it's a tough first rounder for Southwest, but I do think Southwest is playing their best basketball right now, and they've gained some confidence. They've got a couple freshmen that are stepping up and contributing, and they've got those seniors that are solid. So I would take Southwest in that one, but not an easy one. And first-round district games aren't easy, especially the 2 and 3 seeds playing. And then they'll look at Gretna, and I think they're a good matchup for Gretna. So if they can get by tonight, I would probably pick them over Gretna in that A5 final.
Jeff Smith is with us here on Hail Varsity Radio, previewing some of the district action. Coach, Grand Island and Northeast. Of course, Trout's fantastic, headed to Virginia. They stung Northeast early. So is it confidence for GI, or does Northeast got a little payback on their mind?
I feel Northeast has some payback. I think Northeast has 7 good players on their team at least, and GI is a little Trout heavy. He's a fantastic player, but this is where you go, full box and one, or have 2 guys guard him if you have to, and make those other guys beat you. You've got time to game plan for this game. So again, not easy in these 2-3 matchups, but I would take Northeast in this rematch, and then looking ahead to probably Creighton Prep in that A6 final, hopefully. Of course, I want all the Lincoln schools to get in those finals and have a chance to get to state.
That'd be a lot of fun. Coach, I thought here with tonight's matchup, we'll go further in depth with the pregame, but Southeast and Pius. Southeast young, but man talented, and Pius, they're trying to get back to PBA.
Yeah, their first matchup, Southeast is only down 5 at Pius with 2:43 left in the game. So they hung with them pretty well. Pius's length bothered them, and Pius got into the paint quite a bit. So I would look for Pius to put the ball into the post a little bit, and then also continue to drive in the paint. And because they were just able to shoot over Southeast when they got, within 10 feet of the basket, and then rebound the ball some too. Southeast probably needs to pressure them a little bit up the court with their quickness of their guards, and then look for penetration. But they got to be careful about contested shots or block shots with Pius. They may have to make that extra pass and be able to stop on 2 feet to be able to score against them.
Is there a team that could make a dark horse run to state that we're not thinking about or not talking about a minute here?
Well, I'll tell you, I know West Side's good, but East is in that A3 district with them, and if they can get by Millard West, East isn't an easy out when you play them. So, that would be a huge upset, but they could play with West Side. And then, Pius and Southeast have to go on and probably play Papio South. Papio South had a quiet year, but a solid year, and I think they have some seniors that really play together. Papio South could kind of be a sleeper getting into state and maybe making some noise in there too. But we know Millard North, Bell West, Omaha West Side, Omaha Central, those are the 4 proven teams from the year anyway that you would project into the semifinals. But as we know, that doesn't always happen. And so Pius, Papio South, and maybe East and Southwest can sneak in there and make a little noise possibly.
Coach, we'll see you in a bit. Thanks again for the time today.
You bet.
There he is, Jeff Smith with us, Hall of Fame coach and longtime Nebraska assistant. There's your high school rundown and some Husker hoops thoughts. We'll wrap up a Monday road show live from Pius, Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Like what you hear? High-quality radio and podcasts are just part of what we do at Hail Varsity. I'm Brandon Vogel, managing editor. I wanted to offer listeners of the Hail Varsity Radio Show podcast $10 off the price of an annual subscription. That means that you, for less than $20, can get everything we do. 10 issues of our monthly magazine, our annual football yearbook, and all of the premium content we produce at hailvarsity.com. Just go to hailvarsity.com/subscribe and enter the promo code GBR for $10 off a full year of Hail Varsity. That's hailvarsity.com/subscribe, promo code GBR.
Miss us?
Come here, brother. Give me a hug. Bring it in for the real thing.
We're on call for you. Catch the podcast at hailvarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time here from Pius Roadshow Monday ahead of Boys District. You have Bolts and Knights set to tip here a little before 7. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Jeff Smith along a little bit later on for the call. And big thanks to Coach Bill Busch for joining us, sitting down with us for an extended exclusive. Appreciate that. Charlie McBride, another Monday with Charlie. Jay Moore, good thoughts from him on the see it and believe it part of spring football. But it's okay to be excited and energetic for it, right? I know you're, as a Nebraska fan, wanting things to translate to bowl games and wins. Totally get it. And I think it's okay to maybe let yourself be a little bit more than just reserved. Dare I say it. It's okay to think that, all right, this year's going to be different. Nebraska basketball got a win. We'll see how that follows up tomorrow. Rick Kaczynski going to join us a Tuesday with Kaz. We'll spend time with Mitch Sherman tomorrow. We'll hear from Coach Whipple tomorrow and also Coach Mickey Joseph. Do yourself a favor, and if you're against profanity, then avoid this advice. But if you want a good laugh, just check out the Iron Sheik's Twitter handle and his advice on what oil you should and should not purchase. Just from a worldly take there from the Iron Sheik. Elijah, what are you doing tonight? Once you get done hanging with me after basketball, are you still going to go beeline to the backyard to grill?
No, it's going to be a little late for that. I'm going to beeline to Applebee's. It's their burger night, so it's cheaper burgers and then half-priced appetizers after 9.
Did you get the endorsement deal with them, or are you just throwing out free love?
I'm just throwing out some free love there. It's
that's okay.
I could have said an unnamed chain restaurant here in Lincoln, but yes, my plans. That's my plans. I'm going Applebee's.
Did you do anything yesterday? Did you make that infamous mac and cheese or what?
Yesterday. Oh no, yesterday. You're gonna love this.
Yesterday you ate 7 bags of gummies.
No, yesterday I ate egg salad.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
A programming note for basketball at Southwest. If you're headed there, tip-off is supposed to be in 4 minutes. Well, tip-off is now 6:20 because Omaha South was late arriving to Southwest, and the dreaded bus situation is a reality. If you had the shot clock at just a few days for Art Briles, good on you. He has resigned as offensive coordinator at Grambling State. Thought it was a little soon to hire old Art, but we'll see if he ends up somewhere else.
I think the fun, interesting part of this story is, I'm not sure if you saw this, the Hugh Jackson Foundation defended Art Briles and then admitted to fraud on Twitter today. So go check that out if you haven't seen it.
Just a touch. Yeah. Tomorrow, back in studio. Thanks for spending time. Get the podcast, Hail Varsity Radio, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. We're about less than an hour from tip-off Southeast Pius right here on ESPN Lincoln locally. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
A Hurrdat Media Production.